that's not good. And I just
And
hit
now
the
we're
live button.
live.
Can you hear me?
Do you want me to go back out and come back in?
Yeah, go back out and come back in. Yeah. Hey, it's Julie with Paradigm Interiors. We are having a little technical difficulty this morning with Friday with Friends. My friend Tracy, who works for Enzer Tile, is going to be with us, and she is in the waiting room, and I am going to tell you a little bit about Tracy. She is a commercial, she's the commercial contractor and A&D rep for Enzer Tile in Central Florida. She's a second generation tile rep. Her mom was an A&D rep for the competitor in the Atlanta market and later opened a tile manufacturing business, which I knew. She started her career in tile 20 plus years ago. Like I said, majority of her adult life, she has worked in the tile industry in some capacity. She has worked in and with tile from manufacturing to sales, and she is the mom and stepmom of 5 kids and works this crazy job. And when I met her, she was in interior design school. So that's how I met Tracy, way back in design school. And we have been lunch buddies ever since then. So without further delay, I'm going to start my question asking with Tracy. The reason I brought Tracy on here is because if you have been reading my blog and watching videos, you know that one of my biggest things and recommendations in the bathroom is that you use a tile that is slip resistant. But as we all know, all tile is slippery. So we're going to get into like the nitty gritty of what that means to have slip resistant tile and what you as a consumer can look for when you go out to shop for tile. So I wanted to know from Tracy, tell me some things, like I just said, what the average homeowner should know when they're looking for bathroom, floor tile, and shower tiles.
They're really only, and hi, how are you doing?
Sorry, we got a crazy start to the video this morning.
There are really only 2 things that you need to keep top of mind when looking for bathroom tile, and that is first and foremost cleanability, and then second is slip resistance, which we refer to slip resistance in the industry as the DCOF rating, or the dynamic coefficient of friction rating in a tile. And I can't say that one is more important than the other, but those are definitely the 2 things that should be at the top of your list that you're considering when purchasing bathroom tile, whether it's for your home or business that you're looking at. So DCOF is the dynamic coefficient of friction. If we want to get down into the nitty gritty of it, and I'll try and make this quick, is a test that they perform on a 12 by 12 piece of tile, and they use this little robot called the Bot 3000, and it's got these little feet on the bottom of them, and the feet are covered in rubber, different types of rubber, and they soap up the tile, soap and water the tile, and then they put this robot down on it, and the little foot, it kind of gets drug and moved around, and it can sense how that piece of rubber is sliding around on a wet tile. And from that, it determines what the dynamic coefficient of friction is. And you love how technical that was. So DCOF rating in residential, there really is not a minimum DCOF that's required. But on the commercial side, you're looking for a DCOF rating of greater than or equal to 0.42, and wet, not dry, wet. And that means that tile, if someone comes in with a damp floor and a wet shoe, they're going to greatly reduce the chances of them slipping on that floor. It doesn't mean that you're not going to slip. You're not going to have slip fall. It just means that you're going to reduce the chances of someone slipping on that floor. And so when you're shopping for your home, that's what you want to look for. And in the tile industry, when it comes to porcelain and ceramic tile, everyone has a DCOF rating. And you're always going to find the rating as greater than or equal to 0.42, even though the test might show that it graded at a 0.56. It's only going to show, the manufacturers are only going to show a rating of greater than or equal to 0.42. The next level you'll see is greater than or equal to 0.60. And those are tiles that, let's say you've got a covered patio on your house and you're looking for a tile that's got more skid resistance, slip resistance to it, then you're going to be looking at something that's greater than or equal to 0.60. The next one would be greater than or equal to 0.80, and there's not many tiles that fall in that category, and that's really more for commercial because you're talking about ramps, things that need to be used on an incline. So back to the 0.42. When you're out shopping, not every tile is going to have a rating, but every tile is going to have a rating, but it's going to either be greater than or equal to 0.42 or less than 0.42. And less than 0.42 just means that we definitely cannot use it in a commercial application, but you could use it in a residential application. I just don't know if I would use it in my bathroom. I would stick with that greater than or equal to 0.42 in my bathroom. The next thing is cleanability. At that greater than or equal to 0.42 rating, you're still going to have a tile that you can clean. It's not going to have this super grippy surface that's going to eat your sponge or grab mold and mildew and hold on to it. And then of course, porcelain tile is great because it's less than 0.5% porosity. So it's not absorbing anything. So
okay.
Cleanable, stick with your porcelain and your ceramic, and greater than or equal to 0.42.
Now, what I have noticed, though, the difference between, some of the places that have inexpensive tiles, is that there's no information on the boxes of the tiles or on the back of the tile. And when you go to their website, I'm not going to mention any names. I don't want to get myself in any trouble here, but they are sort of discount retailers of home goods. So, and home construction supplies. And so not all of their tiles have that information. And even if you go to the website, you may not be able to find that information on there. So what would be your advice on some places people can shop and ways to find out that information, and what to do if you really like a tile that doesn't have any information on it?
Let me start with the last one, because if you find a tile that doesn't have any information on it and you can't get that information, there's nobody out there that you can take that tile to and have it tested, and it's expensive to have it tested. So at that point, you're going to have to decide, is my love for this tile greater than the risk that I want to take in putting this in my house, and having someone possibly slip and fall on it? A lot of the big box stores not big box stores, but a lot of the discount stores do not have that information on there for one of two reasons. Either they are brown boxing their material, meaning they're going to the big supplier, and to save on cost, they kind of take their seconds and overruns and they just put them in a brown wrapper and sell them. And there's no marketing that goes with that. However, that material does exist somewhere and does have testing information. And sometimes you just have to ask, like, is there testing available? You have the DCOF rating on this material. And if it's not that kind of material, sometimes they're taking material that is defect material. So a manufacturer ran a whole line of material and the glaze was off. They've got standards that they set for glaze, and the glaze was just not within range. So they have to get rid of the entire line, which could be 100,000 square feet of material. So the manufacturers, every time something comes off a line, they manufacture that run to confirm or deny that the DCOF rating is the same. So if they've got something that they're going to sell at a discount, they're not going to test it. So even though for previous runs there is testing data, there is not going to be testing data on that. So it's still good material. It still probably meets the original DCOF, but there is no test to confirm or deny that. So
Okay.
I just would say when you're buying at these discount places, you're really going to get what you pay for. So it's discounted for a reason. It's not always because it's faulty material, but it could be that it's faulty material, meaning that, again, like going back to the glaze, the color just wasn't within the range that they allow for that product. Doesn't mean it's a bad product. It doesn't mean it's going to fail when it gets into your house. It just means that that color is not something they can put out and sell with all their other material. So always ask and just know that the answer is probably going to be no, but just
ask.
Just ask. and sometimes in these places, you will have a name on the side of the box that's the manufacturer. You can go to their websites. All of the manufacturers have their technical data on their website. So all you got to do is figure out who the manufacturer is, go to the website and look it up. The company that I work for, Imser Tile, all of our products have all of the testing data. If it's not available, it'll say TBD, which just means that it's a brand new product and most likely it's not already in a discount warehouse. But yeah. That's how I would go about it.
Cool. Well, being a designer, when I work with clients directly, one of the things I do is I look at, I'm sure as you are well aware, I look at the DCOF rating, not score. And I look at the rating and, especially if it is going to be in a wet area. So either in a foyer in the house or in a bathroom, not as much the kitchen. The kitchen floor doesn't get quite as wet unless there's a leak as other spaces would. But here in Florida, for sure, the foyer of a house needs to be, you should be using slip resistant materials. And in the bathroom, especially with the population that I work with, which is, pre-retirement, because those remodels, those tile flooring, they should last a really long time. It shouldn't be something that as these people get into retirement, they're going to need to replace down the road. But if they're not working with the designer and they're armed with this information, they're like, okay, every tile, I'm going to check the DCOF rating and I'm going to make sure that, it's a greater than 0.42 and they know it. And they go to, a big box store or they go to a discount and they look and they're not finding it. Where are some places, some tile places that they can go? I mean, I guess really probably don't want to get specifically into names of stores.
Start with the manufacturer. Start with the manufacturer. So there are a number of companies out there that are the manufacturer. And if you go into their showroom, you'll know right away you're in a manufacturer's showroom because they'll tell you, we don't sell tile. We're not going to quote you prices. You can walk around and look at all the pretty things that we have. And then they will send you to one of their distributors. And that's where you would go to buy it. But that is where I would say start there and really get armed with what you like, what you don't like, what kind of looks are going to fall in that DCOF, with the DCOF rating that you need, greater than or equal to 0.42, and then they'll gladly tell you and go down the street to Bob's Tile Emporium, which does not exist, and he'll be more than happy to sell you this material. So that's where I would start. is at a manufacturer.
Sorry, I got a comment. I'm so excited. So Alicia, who was actually on last week, the organizer, and she'll be on again next week. She said, is non-slip tile a lot more expensive? And I mean, personally, from my end, it really doesn't have to be. It can be. Of course, there are non-slip tiles that are more expensive, but it really doesn't have to be more expensive. Like Tracy said, they're all tested. So yes, the testing does cost money and it's very expensive, but the tile companies test, before they run those large quantities of tile. And so they know, and the testing's done for all that tile that's really ever made. It's not, they don't test every single piece of tile individually, right, Tracy?
No,
it's like one sample.
They test runs. So if they manufacture a run, they're going to test that run, confirm that it does still meet the decoff, and then move on.
They're good.
Most of the manufacturers have in-house testing facilities. They test for everything, including decoff. So no, you are not going to pay more for a tile that meets that decoff rating of greater than or equal to 0.42. Unlike let's say a rectified tile. Rectified tiles is actually an additional step in the manufacturing process that makes it perfectly square, which that would be another great conversation for us to have. So the rectified tiles can be more expensive, but not a tile that is more slip resistant.
Right. Well, and then the other thing too, which Alicia just commented and said, I almost slipped in my newly remodeled shower. So if you weren't here at the beginning of the conversation, Tracy always says all tile is slippery. All tile is slippery. It's all going to be slippery, especially when it's wet. So, but another important thing is we've been talking about the decoff rating, but we haven't talked yet about the size of the tile. And so, if you have, it's 2x2 or smaller, right? That it doesn't matter what the decoff rating is if it's 2x2 or smaller.
If it's 2x2 or smaller, it doesn't matter because you've got so many grout joints in there, and that grout joint is truly like that. Probably would be somewhere at a point greater than or equal to 0.60 or higher for the skid resistance. So 2x2 or higher, it really doesn't matter. It because the grout is what's giving you your traction.
And then the other thing that I think a lot of people love, and for me, there are so many good porcelain tiles out there with natural stone looks to them now that are just absolutely stunning. And I can think sometimes they even fool people into thinking that there's a bathroom I did recently that had a marble look tile, and I have gotten asked multiple times, what kind of marble did I use? And I was like, it's porcelain tile. So, I mean, the opportunity is always there to not use natural stone, but marble is super popular in bathrooms. And in general, is there a guide? I think I found something online one time that was like, most marbles are going to have this decoff rating. Most of these will have this type of decoff rating or whatever. So anyway, I didn't know if you wanted to speak to natural stone, polished, natural finish, honed, all the different finishes, and what potential decoff like range or not slip resistant range they would be in.
Okay. Natural stone is never tested for decoff. I've never met a manufacturer of natural, not a manufacturer, but what do they call them? A company that distributes natural stone. I've never dealt with one that has tested natural stone.
Really?
So,
Why is that?
I honestly think it's because it would never pass. Because even your honed stone is, when wet, is as slippery as a polished piece of natural stone. And at the beginning of this, I was talking about cleanability and the decoff rating. Natural stone to me in a bathroom is beautiful only if you're never, ever, ever going to set foot in that bathroom and use it, because It doesn't have a decoff rating.
Right.
And the cleanability is, especially in Florida, mold and mildew just comes with the territory of owning a bathroom, having a bathroom in your house. And you cannot use just any old cleaner, sanitizer, chemical on natural stone. It's, and if you've got a light colored stone, it is so porous that even if you have a sealer on it, you've spent all this money to put a sealer on it, and then you go after it with these harsh cleaning chemicals, that's going to pull your sealer out of it. And then the next time you get mildew or mold in a corner, you're going to be able to clean it off, but it's always going to leave that stain that's there because it is just such a porous material. So I love natural stone. I really do love natural stone, but when it comes to bathrooms, I am like you. I'm a big proponent for, in this day and age, with the digital technology reproducing beautiful tiles that look just like natural stone, I would go with the porcelain tile.
Yeah.
Every time. So
that's how I feel about it too. I think it was an article that I just happened to read off of, because what happened was, here's a little story. You're going to enjoy this one. So
what'd you do,
on
Lucy?
Instagram going off on my, no, this is my bathroom. No, don't do anything that's not, that doesn't have a decoff rating on it. So, me, I'm principled that way. And so someone who is the manager, owner, something of a local retail tile store here in town, one that I had never heard of, said, well, even the stuff that isn't tested is, natural stone is still blah, blah, blah. And he just went off on me on Instagram, on my Instagram feed. And so I was like, I contacted him and I was like, that was really unprofessional. I would never do that to you. And it's really not a good way to start a relationship with someone who could potentially refer, because I wouldn't necessarily buy a tile there because I buy wholesale, but I could refer my consultation clients there and send him business, So I thought it was really interesting because, he was trying to defend it in a way that, it was like, oh, well, even the, natural stones that aren't shiny, the non-shiny tiles, all non-shiny tiles would still meet that. And I was like, I'm not sure that that's true.
Well, here's something to remember. If all non-shiny tiles would meet that, just meet it, why in the world would we spend the money to test?
Right. Exactly. Well, and then I thought, well, I wonder if that's true of natural stone. So I kind of went out and looked around, just did some searching to see if there was any, and I found what you basically said, which nobody tests natural stone. It's not tested. But there was somebody who had written like a synopsis of just how not non-slip resistant or slip resistant the natural stones are, even when they're honed, that none of them, just like what you said, that basically none of them would meet that rating of, greater than or equal to 0.42. And so I was like, that's interesting. I never really, even as much as I've talked to you, and Tracy literally, guys, Tracy taught me tile in school. She came to my class and taught the tile class that we had in school. So I learned everything I know about tile from Tracy. Not exactly. I do a little bit of education on my own, but I did find exactly what you said, which is you can't rely on natural stone to be so, I think to the point, and I guess we'll wrap it up because we've been on here for 24 minutes. These are my long ones, though. I try to keep all the rest of my videos 5 to 8 minutes.
And I can talk tile.
Oh, yeah.
I love tile.
I do too. And I think I love tile because, we had a good class on tile when I was in school, and it got me like super excited about tile.
Thank you.
Do you ever go back and teach the classes there?
No, I have not, since our kind of beloved, not so beloved professor left. I will not mention her name. I lost contact with a lot of the people there. So yeah.
So, But I will say, I love tile, but I love kitchen and bath work. And I think that's why the love of tile and, the more that I want to increase my understanding of tile, and particularly in the age group that I'm working with, that bathroom floor. I mean, 85% of all falls with injury, well, actually 85% of all falls happen in the bathroom.
Right.
And, another 80% of those result in serious injury that require hospitalization, even an emergency room visit, but still, and most of those are happening in the transition from shower to outside the shower, meaning that surface area that you're coming out of the shower, either that bump over the shower that most of us have, and then onto the surface that's not the shower surface. See, that's what people know. They're like, oh, I'll put the slip resistant floor in my shower, but not necessarily on the floor out in the main part of the bathroom. And I think that's a part that seems to be missing sometimes is, yeah, I've addressed the shower, but not the surface that I'm stepping onto.
Well, and it's going to become even more important as we move more and more into these curbless showers where you have a line drain and what's outside the shower is now inside the shower. And so it's and it's a large format. You're not going to have the 2x2s. It's going to be a 12x24 that runs straight into your shower. So you really, really need to be aware, especially with aging in place, of what the decoff is. And that needs to be a factor always.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I mean, I think even if you're not looking at aging in place, period, just in your home, you should not because anybody can slip and fall and sustain a terrible injury, even if you're not 65 or older, I know.
You are correct.
My aunt, who's now like 60, 61 years old, fell in her bathroom and broke her pelvis and her arm when she was in her 50s, like maybe 56, 57 years old. So about 4 years ago. Yeah. So about 56, 57. And it was a very traumatic injury for a lot of reasons, but just breaking your pelvis is bad. That's a hard one to overcome. So, all right. Well, Tracy, I will let you get back to work because Tracy's still working in construction industry. They're all still working. So she is helping, I'm sure, her clients and needs to get back. But thank you so much for your time. I owe you a lot.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. As soon as we can get out and have one.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
All right.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I hope that you got a lot out of this. It will be on the Facebook page in the series soon. So if you want to go back and watch it and take notes, that would be awesome. And thanks, Alicia, for all of your comments. That's awesome. Good stuff there. So everybody have a great weekend, and I will be back next week with Alicia again to talk about organizing, particularly organizing in the kitchen and kitchen design as it relates to organizing. Thank you. See you later.